Have you heard about the people in America receiving mysterious packages from China? One man did and opened them with the incredible discovery that now has health officials concerned he may have unwittingly unleashed an invasion that could alter the United States ecosystem forever. Imagine you're minding your own business when you receive a package in the mail that states that it's jewelry. You open it and find seeds instead. You didn't order them, but would you try planting them? The story of the seeds harkens back to the ancient tale of the Trojan War and the saying, "Beware of Greeks bearing gifts." You may recall the Greeks and Trojans waged a 10-year war that ground to a stalemate until the Greeks presented the Trojan with the gift of a giant wooden horse. The Trojans brought the gift into their walled city, unwittingly bringing in a small force of Greek soldiers who then attacked the Trojans after they went to bed. Ever since, the saying brings a warning to be careful when an enemy presents you with a gift. It may be too late though, as at least one man has taken the bait and planted the seeds. People in the United States began receiving unsolicited packages in the mail a few months ago, one of them arriving at the home of Arkansas resident Doyle Crenshaw. Crenshaw recalls, "The package said it was from China and said studded earrings on the outside, and we thought that was a little odd." Crenshaw claims curiosity conquered caution and he planted the seeds. In Crenshaw's defense, he told reporters that he planted the seeds before the government warned people about their potential dangers. Doyle did his best to cultivate his curious crop. Every 2 weeks I'd come by and put Miracle Grow on it, and they just started growing like crazy. Now he's astonished at what he'd seen: large white fruits and orange flowers. Doyle wasn't the only person astonished. Government official Scott Bray from the Arkansas Department of Agriculture learned about the plants and told the press, "Our concern is from an invasive pest aspect. These seeds could introduce an invasive weed or an invasive insect pest or a plant disease." Now scientists, government officials, and the general public are wondering if these seeds are some sort of bioweapon, some sort of marketing scam, or something entirely different. One of the most unusual news stories of late, and this is 2020 so that's saying something, the mysterious deliveries of seeds from China to the United States might have seemed like just another odd story, save for two things. First, people never ordered the seeds, and second, and definitely the more important factor, no one seems to know exactly what the seeds are. According to a recent article at Popular Mechanics, most seeds that have been shared online look like dry citrus seeds whose biggest threat seems breaking your heart because you live somewhere other than Florida or California. But could these mailings indicate some big biowarfare strike? Naturally, people were both curious and cautious. Given the many conspiracy theories surrounding the coronavirus, see our video detailing some of the most outrageous, some people are afraid to purchase or receive anything from China. That means that unexpected packages are only going to increase some person's paranoia. While the matter is still under investigation, scientists have preliminary theories on what is behind the seed scheme and possible consequences if they are planted. Last week, an official at the Plant Protection and Quarantine Program at the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, said that so far the agency has identified 14 different species of seeds, including mustard, cabbage, morning glory, and some of the herbs, like mint, sage, rosemary, lavender, and other seeds like hibiscus and roses. At first glance, these seeds appear to be nothing out of the ordinary. If so, why are they being sent? The United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, recently commented on what may be behind these mass mailings of unsolicited seeds. On 6 August, the agency reported, "At this time, we don't have any evidence indicating this is something other than a brushing scam, where people receive unsolicited items from a seller who then posts false customer reviews to boost sales. USDA is currently collecting seed packages from recipients and will test their contents and determine if they contain anything that could be of concern to U.S. agriculture or the environment. USDA is committed to preventing the unlawful entry of prohibited seeds and protecting U.S. agriculture from invasive pests and noxious weeds." All things considered, some people are skeptical that these seeds are harmless or some type of off-the-wall marketing scheme. The possibility that there could be something more to the story is enough to frighten people already on high alert from the events of 2020. While there has been no evidence that the seeds are some type of bioweapon, there are still credible concerns that the seeds could lead to the growth of an invasive species. According to Laura Meyerson, a professor of invasion biology, the federal definition in the U.S. for invasive species is non-native plants, animals, and pathogens that cause harm to the economy, the environment, and human health. Tulips were introduced to the U.S. from Holland. They were non-native species, but tulips aren't running around and taking over North America, so they're not invasive, they're just non-native. On the other hand, some non-native plants and animals are invasive, raising serious concerns for a nation already ravaged by the economic effects of the pandemic. You've likely heard stories about invasive animal species, creatures brought into an area that can play havoc on the ecosystem. Let's take a look at the case of the Burmese python, a non-native animal that has led to a major crisis in the state of Florida. Some people who purchased the pythons as pets became overwhelmed by the snake's size and the cost of caring for it, so they simply abandoned them into Florida's wetland. According to the Everglades Holiday Park, wildlife native to the Everglades is being threatened by a large number of pythons slithering in with the main goal of killing off populations. This danger could ultimately lead to local extinctions of some species, and this goes against all preservation efforts being made to help the Everglades and the native animals thrive. The pythons that have been invading the wetlands are killing small animals first, such as raccoons, rats, and rabbits. However, the pythons will stop at no cost when large species such as alligator and deer are becoming victims to prey. While plants may not seem to be capable of destroying the ecosystem, science says otherwise. Invasive plant species are similar in that they can damage or destroy the native plants. According to the Smithsonian, plants with the highest invasive potential are prolific seeders and vigorous growers which have the ability to adapt well to a variety of conditions. Native species have not evolved alongside these plants and have trouble competing. With few predators and little competition for resources, these new plants can displace native flora, reducing plant diversity until a landscape is no longer able to support long-standing native plant, animal, and insect communities. Examples of invasive plant species in the United States include the Japanese honeysuckle and the kudzu. These plants may seem harmless, but they can drastically impact the native plants. For example, the Japanese honeysuckle shades and girdles over competing vegetation, while the kudzu is prolific and smothers plants and kills trees by adding immense weight and girdling or toppling them. The fear, of course, is that an invasive plant could damage or destroy food crops or other vital aspects of the food chain. The good news is that scientists are taking this matter seriously and the seeds are currently being tested. Laura Meyerson is an invasion biologist who spoke with Scientific American about how the USDA may be testing the seeds. They may have done a morphological identification based on shape and size, etc. And then they may also be running some genetic analyses. What you would be looking for is a seed of a particular size, a particular weight, and particular features, color, and shape. It might have different physical features on it that make it typical for a particular species. It might have little spurs on it that help it hang onto animal fur so it gets transported around. So you'd be looking for all sorts of physical characteristics that were typical for a species. Meyerson explained that genetic testing is another option, as is growing the seeds in a laboratory where they can be controlled and prevented from spreading. Even if the seeds do not turn out to be an invasive species, there are still potential dangers. We don't know because we don't know what they are. That means we don't know if they'll be harmful or not. Could these be genetically modified seeds? Possibly. Perhaps that's something we don't want to release into the environment, because once you release that, it can spread to other plants if they're outcrossing, breeding between two plants that are unrelated, and there could be a share of genetic material which might be undesirable. If you want to get really paranoid, you could think about some kind of genetically modified seeds that had a gene drive, a genetic engineering technique that guarantees a specific gene will be passed on to an offspring in them to have a particular end. When we bring species from one place to another, generally, they don't come alone. It's possible when that plant was imported, it brought with it viruses or other pathogens that could be harmful. It's really a biosecurity issue, whether or not harm is intended. Even if it's just one of those brushing schemes, as has been suggested, that doesn't mean that there's not potential harm. Bernard Blasi, a professor of natural resources at Cornell University, told the New York Times, Obviously, planting rosemary or thyme in your garden isn't something that will endanger our environment, but there may be other things in there that have not been identified yet. Anytime you gain something unknown, my suggestion is burning them, not even throwing them in the trash. Who knows who's behind it or what's behind it? I think there may be more to the story. Scientists and government officials may never know the motive or motives behind the seeds being sent, but they have many reasons to be alarmed at the potential outcomes should the seeds be planted. The good news is that the matter is being researched, but the bad news is that the seeds may have been planted by people besides Doyle Crenshaw. This seed scenario is frightening because we may not know its impact for several months or even longer. Even if someone does not plant the seeds, there is still the possibility for problems. According to biologist Laura Meyerson, merely throwing the seeds in the trash could lead to trouble. Your garbage can theoretically get transported to a dump somewhere. That could end up with those seeds germinating and becoming naturalized, and then becoming invasive. It's possible somebody could go through your garbage can and find them, take them, and plant them. It's an opportunity for those seeds to be released, and that's why we're saying don't do that. For now, let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope that the seeds have not been planted, either intentionally or accidentally, and that the seeds are completely harmless. The story of Jack and the Beanstalk remains a reminder of what happens when you plant unknown seeds into the ground, but this startling seed story may soon replace it. What do you think of these incredible seeds and their unlikely output?